I maybe just heard that. There's a nice storm going on. There's thunder and lightning and torrential rain. So I thought this would be a great day to make a recipe that's the first recipe I ever made in my whole entire life, besides like grilled cheese. When I was in junior high, I kind of got really serious about cooking. And one of the things was my sister gave me this cookbook. It was called Alice's Restaurant Cookbook. It was also a movie. Arlo Guthrie did that whole song, you know, you can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. Watched that a whole bunch of times, and the cookbook was really cool. And so that was really the first thing. And right from the get-go, when I was looking at the recipe, I made a few changes. I didn't exactly like that. And so I want to get started. Got my pan heating up, and we're just gonna get started. I'm gonna turn this sucker up. And the first thing is we're gonna cook a lot of vegetables here. So I want to make sure I've got enough olive oil. You really want to make sure you got like a layer on the bottom. So for this is an 8-quart pot. It's probably like 1/3 of a cup. Probably you need at least 1/4 of a cup depending on what size pan you're using. And believe it or not, it's not really going to affect. Some people get freaked out. I see this really high-end pre-made sauce in one of the stores we go to, and you know, there's a little bit of oil floated to the top. Well, it's okay. It's really high quality. All right, I already see the funny little waves, and I keep my olive oil handy because if it gets dry, guess what? I'm going to toss some more in. So the thing I want to start with is I've got 4 sweet onions. These were kind of small, but this is still a pretty good amount of onion. And yep, just start to sizzle in here. Let's get this. And when you first start cooking stuff, that's when it's going to stick. So I just want to make sure everything's going well. And I really need to soften up these ingredients. So I want to give this kind of a minute on its own. And I do have a 12-quart pan or dish that if I had really increased the amount, because I like making a lot, so I can put it in Tupperware, throw it in the freezer, that I could use. But I think for today, I'm probably gonna, you know, this 8 quart's good enough. The biggest thing is you want it big enough that if you get splatter and splash, it's not going all over the kitchen. So you know, you never want to fill them really past the bottom of the handles. Onions are great. I love the smell. So, I said I'm going to give this just a minute. People get concerned when they see like all these veggies, but we're going to cook this a long time. And I learned a trick from a neighbor of mine many years ago who was very Italian, made probably the best, they call it gravy, you know, red sauce in the whole world. And what they would do is they put olive oil in the bottom of the big heavy pot they had, and first they would do is sear a pork chop and then take it out and give it to the dog, because they didn't want the pork in it, but it gave really good flavor to the sauce. I've actually tried that. I want to keep this vegetarian because I think you can always add stuff later, especially because, like I said, I'm going to freeze a whole bunch of this, and I can take it out and add things to it. You know, you can add meatballs, you can add sauce, you know, whatever you want. I like to add things like crab meat. You know, you can make clam sauce. I'm on the fence. I like red sauce as much as I do white sauce when it comes to clams. But I usually always have red sauce in the freezer, so guess what? Alright, Believe it or not, that's starting to cook down. So I got a couple red peppers. Now, I never knew what a red pepper was when I was a kid. We always used green peppers, and I've grown up to really not be fans of green peppers, so I have substituted red for everything. So I'm sure in the early days, I always used green peppers. But now it's all red. Just want to get things heated through. This won't take a whole bunch of time. Yeah, it's really important to have like one good pot that's big enough to cook your chili in, or your anything you want. But I think I have a pot for like doing clam bakes that has like the strainer insert, and I think it's like 20 quart, but that's so huge. It's really meant to be used like at an outdoor cooking thing. That would make this some spaghetti sauce or chili. Just keep that fire going. Now look in here. We're getting some liquid out from the pepper now, so I need to keep the heat high. I don't want to throw a whole bunch of things in. It'll drop the temperature because I need. Now this isn't like making something where you need to keep it dry, because obviously this is spaghetti sauce, so I'm not as concerned, but I do like some of that evaporation to take place. So now I have like 6 cloves of garlic. Fortunately, the head of garlic I had wasn't great. These were small. I probably would have put more in, but then I was like, people are probably tired of all the garlic I put in, so in my dishes. So this time I'll cut back. So it'd be the equivalent of like 4 really healthy cloves of garlic. Sometimes garlic is really hard to tell if it's, fresh or it's got brown spots until you open it up. Just want to get some fragrance. Oh yeah, doesn't take long. Once that garlic hits the heat, it smells lovely. Now, I got all these mushrooms. Now these are really going to sweat down quick. I've got everything else cooked as much as I want. So I'm just going to get these in. This is a pound of sliced mushrooms. You heard me right, sliced. I know I usually quarter, but for spaghetti sauce, I want them a little bit smaller, and they're going to shrink like they always do. So while these are having fun, so I really don't need to sweat the mushrooms. At this point, it's going to all cook. It's all going to cook down. Alright, so now we're going to switch over and let's get to our tomatoes. I just went through the cupboard and I had a bunch of crushed, diced, all sorts of stuff. I had to run to the store because I was short like 1 can. Basically, what I do here, let's get these in here. I'm not shy, I scrape them down because I want all this goodness. And like I said, you can use a combination of stuff, don't worry. heat up pretty high. K is all this stuff is. Once again, I always wait for there to be a sale at the store and I stock up. Nothing like a BOGO. I'm not really, I don't think I've run across any brand that I've really gone, ooh, I don't like that one. Because really it's all about what you're putting in it. And when you're making chili or spaghetti sauce, it's going to cook down so long that it's inconsequential how crushed or diced or whatever they are. Okay. Some room. Let me see if I stir this. So this is pretty full right now, so I'm really hoping it does cook down. Because we're about here right now, so a little more than I'd usually, but it will quickly cook down. Just want to get everything mixed. So the first hour is really about getting the veggies all cooked down, and we are going to cover this and cook it for an hour. The second stage is actually getting the seasoning done. So that's a different thing. Now because we have a lot of stuff in here and it's going to get pretty thin, what we do need to do is add some tomato paste. So I've got 4 large cans of tomatoes in there. So I need to get 3 of these cans of paste. Used to be I could find larger cans of paste in the store, but I haven't seen them in a while, so this is how it works. But I'm going to show you a little trick. Use the old-fashioned can opener. I've got the top cut. I'm going to flip it over. This didn't want to work earlier. Bet you someone really smart showed you this trick, right? And then it works like a piston. Just save that before it all goes through. Cool trick. Look at that. It's clean. This one's going to make me struggle. Last but not least, Now I made a great mess. I'm going to rinse my hands off. There. So let's see what this looks like. It's really bubbling. The tomato paste is really doing what it's supposed to do. It's really kind of a thickening agent when you're doing this. And believe it or not, I'm not done. So while this is heating through and mixing up, got a few more things. I'm sure you've all heard the debate about putting sugar in your spaghetti sauce. Well, I don't do that, but what I use as a sweetener is carrot. So you put carrot in, it's going to completely disintegrate. And I want probably half a cup, maybe 3/4 cup, depending on your preference. Just keep that stirred in. And as it starts to break down, you'll know right away. You can add more, can't take away, it's just like putting sugar in. But I like the idea of using the carrots because there's just something so like earthy and sweet about carrots. And no one will ever know you put them in there. Last but not least, I need a bigger spoon. I have some sliced olives, black olives. Just gonna put these in here. Now that I've completely made a mess in the kitchen, I can honestly say I'm gonna get this one good stir around. We're gonna cover it, and we're gonna come back in about an hour and see what it looks like. It should all be nice and cooked down. Oh yeah. That's the way spaghetti sauce is supposed to be. So I'm going to see you back in about an hour. Remember, we're going to cover it, be back in an hour. Alright, so this has been cooking on the stove for an hour. Take the lid off, see what I can see. Oh, it smells beautiful. So it's getting just about where I want it to be. Everything's cooking down. It's kind of layering right now, so we need to make sure we season it, and we're gonna cook it for another hour. So turned it down so I didn't fog my glasses too bad. And this is really nice. So the taste is really complex and really great. So now, how are we going to season this? Well, first of all, I'm going to show you how I originally did it, and then I'm going to show you how the new me does it. So I want about a teaspoon of thyme. I'm using dry thyme because that's what I would have used as a kid. Just a little extra bigger, so. And some oregano. So I didn't get these fresh nowadays, and I love fresh herbs, but this is about how I would have done it, and I just wanted you to kind of see. So now what's the variation? So now I went out and got some fresh Italian parsley I want to throw in here. Like I said, everything's going to cook down, so there's not going to be a whole lot. You know, chopping it down is all you got to do. And I got some really lovely basil. The thing hard about basil is A, it doesn't last very long, and B, turns color. So I just want to chiffonade or roll it up and cut this. Just keep your fingers on the blade. And it's cool because when you cut it, you just get this really great smell. So I'm going to throw this in here. And one of the things that I used to do occasionally was I like to put a little red wine in because I think it really adds to the body. It's going to give you that depth and the saltiness of it. Of course, as a kid, I didn't have a lot of choice because I wasn't old enough to buy anything, so that's what was lying around the house. Soon learned that isn't always the best option. In fact, I remember a couple times buying cooking wine. That stuff's horrible. So I went to the liquor store and found this. This is a great Rosso Pacino. It's from the hills of the central region of Italy, and this is an interesting one. It's a vineyard I've used before, but this is their organic. And what's interesting is that it's half and half the Montepulciano and Sangiovese. That's Montepulciano and Sangiovese. I butchered it a little bit, but I've been practicing. I'm getting better. I know Sangiovese because I like Sangiovese. I like Chiantis that have a high content of Sangiovese in them. But I just thought this would be interesting to try, and I'm cooking with it. It's definitely good enough, and this is less than $10 bottle of wine. You know, I always poke around the corners and see what I can find. And actually, depending on your preference, I would probably put a full cup of wine in here because it's such a huge pot of sauce. Let's give it a little stir and see where we're at. Oh yes, this is a beautiful thing. So once again, you know, the alcohol is all going to cook out really quickly. I mean, this pot's hot enough. The other thing is the red wine is going to kind of give it a depth of color that I like. Kind of adds. That's why there are ingredients I like to put in chili. It just changes the color and the texture. So now we've got all this stuff together. Now it's just got to cook. What I want to do, make sure it's good and stirred up. I got to figure out. I'll do a video on a variation of what I would do with this sauce as soon as this is done. So I'll get this cooked. Run to the store and find something. You can do about anything with this though. This is just your basic red sauce, and you can add anything your heart desires. I said as a kid, I used to love adding things like hot sausage, Italian sausage. I got to making meatballs later, and I thought that was always a great thing. In fact, I have a recipe where you make the meatballs and you put them in the sauce and then cook in the sauce. It's kind of like an old, you know, it's a long process of getting them cooked. That tastes good. It changes the whole balance of taste and texture of the meatball by cooking it in the sauce instead of being, you know, crusty from frying or baking it. And I always bake my meatballs. I don't like frying. So here I have it. Probably should have used a bigger pot because I've got this sucker right up to those handle rivets. But this is going to be a really good sauce. So now, just a matter of putting the lid on, walking away for another hour, and I'll be back to show you how we're going to put this together and make something with it. Alright, so been another hour. I'm exhausted. And take a look and see how we are. I have one correction I have to make. As I turned off the camera, I realized that I had 2 bay leaves sitting there. So now we're going to take the bay leaves out because they've been in there for an hour. So this is a great base. This is a really nice sauce. I call it rustic because it hasn't really had a chance to really cook down. I always like to cool it, get it in the fridge, let it sit overnight, get it out the next morning, heat it up again, because overnight it's really going to get all those flavors melded together. And right now this is absolutely beautiful sauce, and it'll taste great. I'm going to put some out here. I just have a little linguine left over because I always have stuff left over in the freezer. And I'm just going to dish up here. So that is how a perfect spaghetti sauce should look. Like I said, it's been 2 hours. I'm going to let it cool down now and get it in the fridge. Tomorrow I'll get it out and heat it for another time. I'll make something else with it tomorrow for dinner. This is just a great, easy recipe. Great way to make a great sauce. I want you to enjoy it. You can take the wine that you pour it in and pour yourself a nice glass and really enjoy it and have fun and get creative in the kitchen. As always, I want you to comment, please subscribe, and try my recipes. Have a great day.